Hello and welcome back to Study History with Mr. P. And today I'm going to focus on the reign of William I. So William I, or William the Conqueror, was known as a stern, brutal and greedy man. He was a tough, determined man due to his experiences growing up when he faced a number of assassination attempts from rivals against him. He was constantly at war to try to eliminate these rivals, but this gave him a lot of experience of war, which undoubtedly helped him massively in the Battle of Hastings. And alongside this experience of war came experience of logistics, leadership and military strategy. Equally, he loved money and wanted to own everything. But he was also a religious king and was very devoted to his wife. So he was religious, partly due to seeing what the church could do for him, but he did also promote church reform. And after conquering England, he was keen to be seen as the legitimate king of England. But equally, he was devoted to his wife, who at times served as a regent on his behalf when he was away. So William had several children, but he had a particularly difficult relationship with one of his sons, Robert, who he nicknamed Curtos, in reference to his short legs and dumpiness. In fact, William bullied Robert, his eldest son, and although Robert was a good warrior, William never thought he was ready to take over control of Normandy. The main reason then that tension grew between William and Robert was because Robert wanted a share of power, but his father William did not think he was capable. And this leads to a rebellion against William that began back in 1077. This actually followed a water prank between Robert and his younger brothers that actually led to a real fight. Sometime after this, Robert then tried to take control of Rouen Castle but was forced to flee when William tried to have him arrested. Then King Philip of France became involved and installed Robert in a castle from which Robert then raided Normandy. Sometime later, a battle in Gerberoy in France in 1079, Robert actually fought against his father William. William was wounded and humiliated by Robert, who actually showed him mercy. But reconciliation between the pair came through Matilda, William's wife and Robert's mother. She intervened and Robert came to be restored as heir of Normandy. But this didn't stop there being a disputed succession around the time of William's death. So in July 1087, William had led a raid into France, but during this raid was thrown heavily against the saddle of his horse, which caused internal injuries. And he actually died on the 9th of September 1087, and panic broke out. Barons ran away from William's castles to secure their own castles, and his servants stole all that they could. However, prior to his death, William had given instructions for Robert to succeed to the dukedom of Normandy, and he wanted his son William to become King of England. So he actually split his two kingdoms between two of his sons. So his son William, known as William Rufus because of his red hair, left for England before his father's death, with a letter written to Archbishop Lanfranc from William recommending him as king. He was then crowned as King William II in September 1087, but faced opposition, not least from his own brother Robert. It was Norman custom for the eldest son to inherit all of his father's estates, but this wasn't the approach that William took. So in 1088, Odo, you might remember Bishop Odo, led a rebellion against William II. The rebels forfeited their own castles and laid waste to the lands of the king and his supporters, taking loot back to their castles. William then called upon a council of Englishmen and asked for help against the Norman rebels. And in return he promised the best law that had ever been in England, with an end to all unjust taxation and an end to forest law. But actually we find out that after getting the help he doesn't fulfil any of these promises. However, also the majority of Norman aristocrats, bishops and the English population were against Odo's rebellion. So when Robert gathered an army to invade England and join with the rebels to conquer England for himself, it proved unsuccessful. In fact, the men that Robert sent himself were defeated by Englishmen, and as a result, William himself did not invade. All the meantime, Odo was still involved in the rebellion, and the siege tactics were used against Odo in Pevensey Castle, and eventually, after 6 weeks, the garrison surrendered. And Odo and the other rebels were then exiled from England, many returning to Normandy, and their lands were granted instead to those who'd been loyal to William Rufus, so William II, the new king of England.